Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Team Liquid Legacy Star League Round of 8, Day 1. And first I just gotta say, man, I love that intro. Every time I play it, I'm just like dancing in my chair.
I
Oh,
know,
so
it's good. Yeah, I turn on the stream just so I can hear the intro. It's amazing. Doesn't ever get old. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, we are here in the first day of the Round of 8. Super duper exciting. We're finally through the group stages, through the best of ones, and we're now onto best of 5 single elimination. So yeah, none of the crazy randomness, but hopefully some awesome matches nonetheless.
Yeah, and talking of crazy randomness, all the players who you see in this stage of the tournament are pretty much players you'd expect to see, but I'm still going to say that Nemu is a little bit of an odd one out. So I'm actually really curious to see him coming up next week. But this week, of course, we've got SouthPark playing against Skzlime, and Michael versus Terra. So I almost pronounce it as it's written there, which is always a mistake. We learned that, we know that, we can move on. So tonight going to be some super exciting games.
Indeed, indeed. A couple of TVZs, probably my favorite matchup to watch actually. Barely eking it out over PVZ, even though I am a Protoss player, so yeah, really excited.
Did I just say next week, by the way?
Don't
let me confuse people, because those games are actually coming up tomorrow.
Yeah,
we're going for the whole double weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't you worry.
I wasn't even paying attention because one quick thing I gotta do, I'm giving a shout out. No, sorry. I have a friend in the chat. You see, because I have been spreading esports, ladies and gentlemen. I've been spreading esports. I got one of my friends from work to promise me that he'd tune into TLS with his girlfriend. He's gone down somewhere random to spend the weekend with his girlfriend, but I was like, dude, you have to watch TLS as well. So he's actually dragged his girlfriend to watch TLS with him on the condition that I give him a shout out. So shout out to you, Luke. Yes, you're awesome.
Yes.
But you see, this is the thing. Everybody should go and do this. See, everybody should just go spread Brood War or StarCraft 2 or whatever, spread the love, like, tell everybody how awesome it is, and get them to watch, and you can convert people. See, he's the second person I've converted at the office. I've now got two fans, 2 StarCraft fans, 2 StarCraft comrades. Yeah.
That's great. And not only that, but he's also spending time with his girlfriend and still watching Brood War. So that's amazing. I take my hat off to him, not least because he's going to get the bollocking of a lifetime. So I hope he's prepared to suffer for Brood War, and I admire his spirit.
Alright, cool. So, on to the matchup. The first matchup of the day is going to be SouthPark versus Skzlime. TVZ. Now, the map order is set for all of these Round of 8 series. It's going to be Jade, Electric Circuit, Ground Zero, Sniper Ridge, and then Fighting Spirit. Oh, I knew I was going to mess that up at some point. But, yeah, it's basically a mix of all the 5 maps that we've used so far in the TLS. And should hopefully provide some exciting games. Now, the first map, Jade. How do you feel about TVZ on this map?
About TVZ on this map, I've got to admit, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Give me a bit of thought. What do you reckon?
Well, I mean, it looks like a fairly standard map, but for some reason, I seem to feel like we see a lot of crazy Terran strategies on this map, both in the foreigner scene and in Pro League. In Pro League in particular, I remember 2 crazy games that Lita did, where one of them was like a 1 fact 2 racks timing or something like that, and then he also did like a Medic Marine Goliath attack against Jadong. So
that's so cool.
So yeah, I don't know what it is about the map, but it seems that Terrans tend to go a little bit crazy here.
I mean, that can play out any way when you look at the foreigner scene, because it really still can go in any direction, because people can be less likely to play crazy strategies because they're trying to focus more on mechanics and they don't have the space in their head for all that crazy stuff. But on the other hand, they can go for the wild strategies just because they want to throw a spanner in the works. So yeah, anything can really happen. And it should be pretty good, especially at this stage of the tournament. We're seeing nothing but high level play, and so these guys can definitely bring the strangeness.
And our Terran player Skzlime was in fact one of our invites. In fact, 3 of the 4 invites did survive through the round of 16. Only Dodie, sadly, did get knocked out. Elegant already shedding a tear there for one of his favorite Protoss players.
Yeah.
But yeah, so expecting good things from Skzlime and good things from SouthPark as well. SouthPark, of course, very unexpectedly 2-0'd his round of 16 group, taking out Zeke and Technics, 2 of basically the best Zergs in the foreign scene right now. So he's coming off a very strong performance there as well. Although a lot of people have been questioning his non-ZVZ matchups, so I guess we'll see how he does against Skzlime.
Yeah, we're absolutely just about to find out. And what better way to find out than a ZVT, which should be a fantastic challenge for him.
All right, so are you ready to go into the first game?
I'm absolutely ready.
Let's do it. And here we are in game number 1 at the top left. As the orange Zerg, we have SJ SouthPark. At the bottom right, as the blue Terran, we have SAS Skzlime.
Yes, we do indeed. And of course, given that this is Jade, everyone will probably know by now, but for anyone who's not so in the know, this is a reverse ramp map, so that can definitely contribute to some of the weird out there strategy you can see. Taking a third base can often be a little bit of an interesting gambit because you've got to push across some kind of level ground, which is kind of protected at the top of a ramp, so it can provide some interest in that area. And I'm often curious to see kind of where players choose to place their bases and whether they choose to stick on lower base count for longer and really macro up, knowing that their opponent's going to have a hard time getting across to that third if they really commit to squashing it, because it is quite predictable in that regard that you know where your opponent's going to have to go, so that can create some interesting stuff.
Indeed, and I've said a number of times already in the tournament, but on Jade, the third base, the close third base, is actually a reduced gas base. You can see there's only 1,500 gas in this geyser as opposed to the normal 5,000, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Now, I think that primarily affects PVZ, hurting the Protoss a little bit when taking this close third. In TVZ, I think it's slightly less of an issue just because you oftentimes, by the time you have that third gas base, if you're going for a normal bio build, you generally have a lot of gas left over anyway, so it's not like you absolutely need that gas like a Protoss does against the Zerg.
Yeah.
So I don't think it affects this matchup as much, but I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, I already said that Terrans can go for some crazy things on this map, and so if you do decide to go for a mech strategy, then of course that gas does become very, very important.
It does. I wouldn't have thought it would affect from the Zerg point of view too badly because by the time their really expensive gas tech starts to come in, beyond Mutas, of course, and Mutas is already completely well catered for off 2 bases, then they're already mining off a fair few bases by then anyway, so I'm not sure it's really going to play too much difference.
Sorry, Elegant, we've got some crazy openings going on. We've got a 9 pool speed versus a 2 racks in base. Man, alright, hold... Okay, so Skzlime, I mean, I think he's slightly known for doing these early Zergling shenanigans, but more importantly, also known for perhaps not being the strongest non-ZVZ player, so ZVT or ZVP, not his best matchups. And I think so he's kind of living up to the reputation by going for this cheesy 9 pool. But similarly, Skzlime is doing a very unorthodox 2 racks in the base before expand.
Yep.
You almost never see this anymore. It's almost always 1 racks expand. This 2 racks basically means he's saying, I expect you to go for a 9 pool, or even indeed a 4 pool, and therefore I'm going to get a second barracks just to counter it.
So this actually kind of works, adding to the fact that SouthPark has decided to go to the top right-hand corner, of course, because he scouts the bottom left adjacent position first and wants to know if his opponent was close, he wants to capitalize. If he was in cross positions, he probably wouldn't have had such a great chance of capitalizing anyway, so he just didn't want to hedge his bets, went straight for the top right-hand corner where he'd have the best chance of doing the most damage if his opponent was there. But of course, didn't get lucky in this particular situation. Skzlime is bottom right, and in this situation, Skzlime should have no trouble in defending this.
Yep, but if I take a look at the link count, it looks like there's 10, now 12 speedlings on the map. Yep, speed just now finished. So we're going to have a couple of SCVs blocking this ramp. I might like a third SCV, but yes, the third SCV is in fact coming, because this can be a little bit dangerous, but he just knows he has to just defend this attack, and he'll still be in very, very good shape. The Zerg sacrificing a lot of economy to get out these early speedlings, and oh man, he's got to be careful not to run these Marines out too far. He's still going to make use of this nice little choke point. Oh man, he's going to get a few Marines caught on the outside. The SCVs are not blocking properly. I think he has enough Marines anyway, but now he's shooting uphill, so there is this mischance, and he's going to lose a few Marines, but I think he's still going to be okay here.
Yeah, he loses a fair amount of health on 2.
Oh, the SCV killed the drone.
Oh, it did? Oh. That hurts. That really hurts. Yeah, a few of those Marines looking quite badly damaged at this point, but it's all right. He's managed to defend those Lings, and there is no further risk incoming. Third hatchery already going down for SouthPark. He's completely transitioned out of this Ling pressure. There's no way he's going to be trying any kind of all-in or anything like that. He's just going to try and suck up the damage. It's not too incredibly damaging to him since his opponent went for 2 racks as well, although he does have to be a little bit careful against the Marine count, because with 2 barracks you can pump out Marines really quite quickly, but it looks like Skzlime's going straight for the expansion instead. No crazy shenanigans from him as of yet, and it's just going to progress, but I think that's probably come out in Skzlime's favor.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Zerglings they killed a few Marines, but they didn't do any economic damage, so SouthPark's early kind of economy hit by going for this build wasn't really made up for by the Zerglings. And similarly, you know, he did lose a good number of the Zerglings as well, so he's had to produce a couple more instead of making those. He's actually produced quite a few more here. It looks like he might even try another attack here, surprisingly. Yeah, he's actually making even more Zerglings here. Oh man, he might... Is he just going to go 3-hatch Ling all in? I only see Lings in these eggs.
Although he is mining gas. He is mining gas.
Oh, man, this is really, really strange. Why is he mining gas if he's only making Zerglings? I mean,
I can only imagine that he's just trying to keep his opponent's natural expansion down, trying to keep the economy down, trying to keep the Marine count down as much as he can, and just steadily, slowly tech to Museless and hope basically that it's not too late by the time he gets there and that he's been able to do enough damage. Surely enough, there is the lair, and here comes the Ling running in. I don't know if this is going to be the best position for SouthPark. It looks like it might be alright though. Those Marines are going to be by far strong enough to defend this Ling pressure. There isn't anything like enough. The SCV drill comes too late, but it doesn't even matter because most of the Zerglings are taken care of anyway, and now Skzlime's looking in a fantastic position. Those Lings doing absolutely nothing and costing SouthPark a huge chunk of everything. Look at his economy. It's absolutely shot to pieces. Nothing mining in his natural. Barely anything mining in his main. This is looking bleak indeed.
Man, at first when Skzlime ran all his Marines away and didn't put anything in the bunker, I was like, whoa, what's going on there? But actually, some of the Lings actually ended up attacking the bunker regardless, and I mean, basically it was just, you know, decent Marine control from Skzlime, coupled with the fact that I don't really see any way that attack would really have worked, given that, you know, the Marine count was already pretty steady there. I mean, was he just hoping that Skzlime was cutting Marines or something at that point? It doesn't really make any sense.
I think so. And honestly, you'd have had to have at least 50% of the number of Lings on top of that again to have made that even possibly work, because the Marine count was as it was. It's a bit of a misjudgment there for SouthPark. I think he got a little bit desperate a little bit too early, to be honest with you. Those Lings, whilst not as useful later on, well, not very useful there, but would still be useful in conjunction with Museless.
Yeah, definitely, and more importantly, I think they also would threaten a counterattack, so this move out by Skzlime is only possible because he's just killed a bunch of Zerglings.
Yeah.
If he hadn't actually killed all those Lings, he wouldn't know if he could move out safely, because for all he knew, there could have been, you know, 2 control groups of Speedlings waiting to surround the Marines, or even just run by into his base, and so he'd have to be a lot more careful, a lot more defensive. But just because he's killed all those, he's like, okay, now I can actually move out. There's no way you can actually have all those Lings ready, but he's going for a bust now, and this could be bad. The Sunkens do finish just in time. He wasted a stim there. But that's alright, the medic will heal those guys right back up, and he is forcing the 3 Sunkens as well as a lot of Zerglings here, once again just hurting the economy of the Zerg, not even by killing anything, just by forcing all of these defensive structures and units.
Yeah, I mean, that was some on-the-edge Sunken timing. I was looking at it and I was thinking, why aren't these Sunkens in here? He's actually going to win right here, right now, but those Sunkens just popped the very instant those Marines arrived, so it was kind of clutch. Not that you can say that was exactly intentional, but it worked out nonetheless for SouthPark. He's going to have such an uphill battle though. Look at his Spire, only just nearly finishing now, and he's got no real cash in the bank in terms of minerals, so it's going to be a little while before he can get a decent number of Museless fielded, and the pressure is coming towards him. I mean, it's almost unheard of to have a Terran this far across the map at this point, with Zerg still so far away from Museless. It is such a rough spot for our Polish deck.
Yeah, and you can see Skzlime keeping on the pressure, actually just rallying everything out there, not leaving anything at home. Might be well, actually no, it's not even slightly risky. There's no chance that the Zerg even has anything on the map at this point. And basically by kind of keeping all his units out here, he's making sure that when the mutas do eventually come out, they're forced to actually deal with these Marines at the front rather than go straight to harass his own base. And they're also preventing a drone from going out and taking a third as well, which by this point the Zerg probably would have wanted to do. You kind of want to send out that drone roughly when the mutas come out to go and take your third base at another main. So doing all sorts of denial and delaying here against the Zerg, and now pushing back. You know, he doesn't want to get too eager as well, because if SouthPark does come out with a huge number of mutas and Lings and just surrounds the group, it could be a little bit dangerous. So just wanted to put on a bit of pressure, and now moving back, he's also doing very, very nice scouting here, sending his fire bats to both corners to make sure there's no third bases going up.
Yeah, I think that's very smart. There's no reason why he wouldn't want to get that full scouting on now, because if Zerg were to be able to sneak a third base, or if he were to get too far forward and just let his Marines get taken out, then that could really throw in the bin pretty quickly this lead that he's managed to build up for himself so far, which would be a shame for him. SouthPark only just now with a decent count of mutas, so he's finally going to be able to actually get some mobility going again. But Skzlime has got a lot of units. He's almost at science fast attack as well already before he's even seen the mutas, and that's scary.
Yeah, it just shows you how far behind SouthPark is, particularly in the tech. It looks like a scan goes down. I don't think it quite caught those mutas, but you should know that those are out on the map. He's actually sending his Marines to the top right. He might actually get an intercept off. That would be crazy. By the way, I love how he's built a random turret at the very bottom right of his base instead of just on the top. A lot of times, Terran players will build like a couple of turrets at the top of the mineral line and the top of the barracks, and then the mutas will fly past them and find a nice little weak spot in the middle. But hold that thought.
Oh, we could get intercept.
Barely missed it.
Great prediction there by Skzlime, presumably using his scans as well, almost catching those mutas well guard. Now it's Muta's turn to chase across the map. If we can take out those medics, that's going to be quite helpful towards him in dealing with this Marine group, but he doesn't have the muta count so far.
And it looks like the Muta is going to ignore him and go past. No, it looks like they're swinging around somewhere. Oh, maybe going to go back around. He's actually bringing the Lings out. He might try a big Muta Ling attack on this group. It is quite a lot of Marines and medics, and they do have +1 attack as well, although he's going to pick off a couple more here, doing some very nice micro so far. Although, he's going to be careful, taking a bit more damage there. And here come the Lings. He's going to go for it. Here's the attack. I think that's too many Zerglings, though, to help out. He's just going to target down as many Mutalisks as possible. Going to get a couple of them, but there go the Marines. And a very nice attack there by SouthPark, but the thing is he's still got no third base. His economy is still not that great. He's just made a few more drones here, so even with that little win, I think he's still behind. Oh man, he's going straight for Hive. He's going crazy, Zerg.
Oh, he is. That is cool.
And he's doing it without an Evo chamber, which is kind of weird.
So we're going to see some crazy stuff from Zerg this time instead. Contrary to our prediction, we're seeing some completely normal stuff from Skzlime right here, but we're seeing SouthPark break out the weirdness. Although that's probably partly because he's in an incredibly tight spot and he needs to do something wacky in order to lever himself back into it. But that attack on the Marine group did go a small way towards doing that, and he's going to be able to keep the pressure on right here. But he needs to be very aware that he runs the risk of getting irradiated. Is irradiate done yet? I think it should be. He's had the tech for a little while.
I'm not sure, but considering that it's not researching at the moment, I would assume it is finished.
Yeah, I think so.
And that's going to make it very hard to actually hold this off with just the Mutaling army, which is what he needs, because I mean that's the whole point of Crazy Zerg, is instead of using lurkers to deal with the Terran, the initial Terran attack, you purely rely on good mutas and good muta link control and go straight for Ultralisks. And normally you need an evolution chamber. I really don't like that he doesn't have the Evo. Maybe he thinks he can't afford it. He's got a lot of money in the bank though, so I really don't understand that, because one of the main goals of the Crazy Zerg is not just to get Ultralisks, but to get a fast Carapace upgrade to use in conjunction with the +2 Carapace bonus that Ultralisks get. So you can basically get like 5 armor Ultralisks out ridiculously fast.
Well, if there's no evolution chamber yet, then that kind of puts a spanner in the works.
Yep.
Guardians? Maybe. We'll see.
Here we go! There's the big attack! There's the Irradiate! He's not pulling the Irradiated Muta out! Oh my god!
Oh, no.
The Zerg army just melts! And SouthPark GG's out. No Hive for you.
Ouch, no, nothing. That hurt. I mean, that looked like a fair number of Mutalisks and Lings there before it dashed down that ramp, but that was brutal. I feel if he wanted a little bit more of a shot at actually taking that, he should have waited until the Terran was actually sort of halfway up the ramp. But even then, God, he looked outnumbered when that battle actually came to bear. That was horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest concave. It wasn't terrible, but I mean, the thing is, you know, you can't fight Medic Marines straight up with Muta Ling unless you have an overwhelming number of mutas and Lings, right? I mean, especially with the +1 upgrade already, the Marines just tear through everything.
Yeah.
Siege tanks didn't even really need to do anything; just kind of sit around, tank a few hits, and I mean, it was an interesting idea, an interesting attempt from Skzlime. I mean, it's something we've seen previously in the TLS as well. I believe in the round of 24 group. Group F with like the 2 Terrans and the 2 Zergs. I think we saw Cozy do that, where he got really far behind, kind of in the early mid game, and so decided to skip lurkers and again go for this Crazy Zerg strategy. So it seems to just be kind of a reaction to getting really far behind in the early game, but as we can see, didn't quite work out.
Yeah, just he wasn't able to live for that long. And I think he was just so far behind after the early game, and everything he did just wasn't working. So it's probably good for him to get moving onwards and upwards to the next game, and hopefully he can have a bit more faith in his play, because it seems like that early pressure play was completely called out by Skzlime, and he's going to be ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe we have mind games already, crazy mind games from game one
But
here.
instantly, game one, straight away.
So
knew what was
it's
up.
going to be interesting to see what happens in the rest of the series.
Yeah.
And we'll bring you guys game number 2 right after this break.